What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review SmackDown from September 10th, 2021, coming to us from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Overall thoughts on this episode of SmackDown. I thought this was a really good show. I really enjoyed this show by far, and a lot of people have stated this, and I 100% agree. This is by far the best WWE show. I mean, the best SmackDown show that WWE has put on in a long time, and throughout 2021, I should say, and by far the best WWE show, because quite frankly, Raw has gone so stale. At least SmackDown, in regards to WWE, at least SmackDown is, for me at least, I don't know about you, is a breath of fresh air. I mean, there's still some issues involving that show, but if you compare those two shows, SmackDown is by far the A show, not only because it's on Fox, but because of the fact that, you know, it's just more interesting in my opinion there. And I did state in my Rampage review that I actually enjoyed, as much as I loved Rampage this week, I'm going to be honest, I really enjoyed SmackDown more than I did Rampage. Maybe it's because of the atmosphere in MSG, I do not know, but I honestly thought this was a really, really good show. Maybe there's some minor issues with it, but I mean, overall, I thought this was a really good show. Of course, we had the rematch from SummerSlam with Seth Rollins and Edge, and I'm the type of person that do not like rematches on television, but this makes the perfect sense because it was a rematch from a pay-per-view. If it was a rematch that happened last week on SmackDown, I would have been absolutely pissed because that is lazy booking. But Edge and Seth Rollins, of course, they absolutely killed it at SummerSlam, and once they announced that match was going to happen at MSG this week, or I should say this past Friday, you know, I was really stoked, and the match absolutely delivered. Of course, Edge got carried out because Seth Rollins targeted the neck of Edge. So, you know, what's going to happen there going forward? Honestly, I do not know. But let's go on with the show. Of course, SmackDown, of course, starts with your tribal chief, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, the head of the table, along with the Usos. So the entire bloodline kicks off SmackDown inside Madison Square Garden. Roman Reigns then asks Paul Heyman, when it comes to sports entertainment, WWE owns New York City, right? Yeah. AEW, I mean, I was about to say AEW. WWE does own New York City, but AEW is going to go to Arthur Ashe next week. But when it comes to WWE, the tribal chief runs WWE. Yeah, he does. He says the tribal chief runs New York City, NYC, and the tribal chief runs MSG. Dead ass freaking promo by Roman Reigns. He didn't say NYC, he said New York City, but if he said NYC, that would have been fucking badass. But yeah, he tells New York to acknowledge him. I acknowledge you. And then, you know, I'm going to be 100% honest here. The crowd, again, I stated earlier, the crowd is absolutely electric, and Roman is 100% over in New York. Because New York, people need to realize this. The reason why Roman is getting a positive reaction, I mean, number one, I mean, it's Roman Reigns. It's this new heel persona of Roman Reigns. I shouldn't say new because it's a year old by now, but it's a heel version of Roman Reigns. But not only that, it's New York City, and New York is one of the smartest wrestling crowds there is. So they know. They're not stupid. So they're cheering Roman Reigns, of course. They're a really hot crowd. But then, what happens? Brock Lesnar's music hits, and Paul Heyman has this really scared look on his eye. He's like, oh shit, I fucked up. And then he walks around the ring and then goes in the ring and proceeds to face off against Roman Reigns. We get holy shit chants by the crowd, and what sucked about this was you had the crowd censored. You had literally the crowd was censored. It was either a decision by Fox or WWE that censored the crowd, which I thought was really stupid, by the way, because it's the crowd reaction. What are you going to do with the crowd? It's the stuff that happens in the ring, in my opinion, that's important. The crowd is important, but like, come on, you got to really, you know, the crowd, really, you're censoring the crowd. It's a big F you to the audience, in my opinion. But we get holy shit chants. Paul Heyman asks Lesnar, why are you going after Roman Reigns? Go after another title like the WWE title besides the Universal Championship. And then Lesnar asks Paul Heyman, why didn't you tell Roman that I was going to be at SummerSlam? And then Roman has this pissed off look. He turns to Paul Heyman and he's like, motherfucker, did I just hear what he just asked you? Like, that's basically Roman Reigns. And he looks pissed off. And the Usos as well. The Usos were like, yeah, good luck with that. And what happens? Roman and the Usos leave the ring. What happens after that? Heyman proceeds to put over Brock Lesnar, and he's like, oh, remember the good old times? And he does his typical Paul Heyman catchphrase, which is amazing, by the way. I always dug that by Paul Heyman. I was live at SummerSlam 2016 when he did that. Jesus Christ, man. Like, that was amazing when he did that. Like, the crowd literally just yelled Brock Lesnar's name while Paul Heyman was doing that. So he does your reigning, defending WWE Heavyweight Champion of the World stuff. That's his famous Brock Lesnar introduction. So he does that. And Lesnar was like, that was great, just like good old times. And then his face expression changes, and he literally grabs Paul Heyman and says, before Roman fires you, accept my challenge. And says he wants a match with Roman Reigns. And he has 5 seconds. Heyman does not answer. Then what happens? Lesnar picks up Paul Heyman, and he is about to F5 him, but what happens? The Bloodline go for the save, and then Roman, the Bloodline, and Paul Heyman leave the ring, and Brock Lesnar is the one standing. So a lot of tension going on, and Paul Heyman is really stuck in the middle of it, and he's on thin ice. In regards to the storyline, he's really on thin ice. Overall thoughts on this segment: I thought this was a really good segment to kick off the show, especially the show returning to Madison Square Garden. A really, really hot, fantastic segment to SmackDown. Of course, Roman Reigns is by far the best thing on the show. Not only that, of course, the involvement with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Could we see a swerve going on? Who knows? But we saw at the end of the show that we're definitely going to be getting that match at some point. A lot of people are saying it's going to be in October. We're not going to get it this month, considering the fact that Roman Reigns is going to be facing Finn Balor at Extreme Rules, and the Demon came back, so that was freaking awesome. But I'll talk about that later on. But most likely we're going to be getting it next month. My assumption was that the match was going to be happening at Survivor Series, but that's not going to be the case. It's most likely going to be next month at the Saudi Arabia Crown Jewel show, which, I know I don't want it to be there, but hey, it's most likely definitely going to be booked for there. So, but this segment was really awesome. Then the Bloodline is backstage with Heyman in a backstage interview. Of course, Caleb Braxton interviews Paul Heyman. He's asked about Brock Lesnar's challenge. Heyman at this point is pissed off and says Roman will enter the challenge when he feels like it. So our first match of the evening is a 10-man tag team match with the Mysterios, Dominic and Rey, Rick Boogs, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E versus Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Apollo Crews, and Otis. Overall thoughts on this match? It was a pretty good match. I felt like this match didn't really need to happen, but I feel like, it got the job done. It was not really that long of a match. Sami Zayn, by the way, before the match starts, he says he loves NYC and brings out Trae Young, who's from a different NBA team, which I don't watch NBA, so bear with me here. But he brings out Trae Young, who ain't from New York, by the way. He's not from New York, so he gets nuclear heat by the New York audience. Then Dolph Ziggler and Nakamura start the match. Otis proceeds to tag in, works on Nakamura. We get an enziguri by Chad Gable, who is on the outside by Nakamura. Otis then takes Nakamura on the outside. Otis then hits a splash in the corner on Shinsuke Nakamura. Once we're back from break, Sami Zayn is the legal man. Mysterio tags in. We get a senton by Mysterio, and then we get a kick by Mysterio. Rey then hits a code red, which, yes, that was a code red. I know that's Darby Allin's move, but it is what it is. There's many different variations, many different names for one move. It's insane. The Panama Sunrise is basically the same thing as the Canadian Destroyer. It's the same move. Roogs tags in. He takes down Cruz. Otis comes in. Nakamura then hits a kick. Ziggler then hits a super kick after that. A whole spot fest going on at this point. Then we get a belly-to-belly suplex by Big E. And then Roode hits a spine buster. Mysterio then hits a Hurricane Rana on Roode, but Zayn catches Rey. He proceeds to work on Rey. Then Trae Young gets involved. The referee catches him and then kicks him out of the match, so he gets taken out. Rey then takes Zayn to the middle rope. Then both Dominic and Ray hit a double 619 after that. Big E at this point is the legal man. He hits the big ending on Sami Zayn. We get a cover. The Mysterios, Rick Boogs, Nakamura, and Big E win the match. Again, this was a pretty short match, but like, you know, it did its job in my opinion. It was a pretty good match. A whole spot fest going on. It was a really good match. Then we get an interview with Big E after the match. He is asked, what is next? And says this may not be the last time we see him tonight. And it's probably either Bobby Lashley or Roman Reigns who is going to be cashing in this contract, and says if he has what he needs, he is coming back for his neck. And it could be next Monday, it could be next Friday, all that stuff. Now, originally, WWE booked the Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley match at Extreme Rules for the pay-per-view. But apparently that's not going to be the case. That match is actually going to be happening tomorrow night on Raw. Now, a lot of scenarios can happen here. This can just be a normal match and just a clean finish with Bobby Lashley retaining. Because we all know Bobby Lashley's definitely going to be having a rematch with Goldberg because of the events that happened at SummerSlam. But honestly, we can see a scenario in which we have Big E cash in the Money in the Bank on Lashley, because he did tease Bobby Lashley and Raw this past Friday. And at this point, I mean, yes, it's in violation of the brand split. That sounds really bad, but like, you know, I mean, let's be straight up. Does WWE really care about the brand split? I mean, the brand split is dead at this point. Like, the brand split doesn't mean anything. There's no identity within the roster split. I mean, there's no point to have a roster split at this point. There's absolutely no reason to. Like, really, there really isn't. Like, the whole point of the roster split is really dumb now. Back in 2016, it was a big deal for a fan like me, because I was always a supporter of the brand split, but let's be straight up. The brand split at this point, I mean, it's WWE's fault. They absolutely killed the brand split. But, I mean, you know, they are teasing Big E going to Raw, and they're going to be saying the brand-to-brand invitational, which I don't know. They shouldn't even be saying that, considering the fact that the brand-to-brand invitational hasn't been used in weeks. I mean, and there were times when they haven't used it in months, and then like after those few months that they haven't used it, they brought it back, and they were like brand-to-brand invitational. So it basically made you, the audience, watching Raw or SmackDown, looked absolutely stupid. Like, what? That was still a thing? Every time when they do something, they love to break their own rules, because they do that all the time. You guys remember the wild card rule back in 2019? Yeah, they keep breaking their own rules, but the rumor is right now that Big E is going to be cashing in on Bobby Lashley tomorrow night, which honestly I do not mind. Like, I mean, what is the point of the Money in the Bank? Like, the point of the Money in the Bank is to actually have a cash in, because throughout the past few years, the Money in the Bank has been treated like a whole joke. Like, the Money in the Bank was treated like an absolute joke. I mean, they had the freaking match on top of the headquarters in Stanford, on top of Titan Towers, for all I care. Like, really? That's the best you got, in my opinion. It was pretty lame, in my opinion. It's better off to have a normal ladder match. But, you know, do I think he's going to cash in? Most likely, and he's going to win the title? Absolutely. I think Big E absolutely deserves it, and he's going to be in the main event scene for a long time. He's definitely a main event guy, in my opinion. But let's see what happens. I mean, that's going to be the only thing interesting tomorrow night on Raw, is the title match, to see what plays out with Orton and Lashley, because quite frankly, Raw as a show is absolutely terrible. The show is unbearable. Like, it's literally, if you enjoy Raw, you know, it's all fine with you. But I mean, I honestly, the only reason I watch it is because I do the reviews for the review for the show. That's it. Like, there's very little things that interest me on Raw, in my opinion. But I mean, the whole you know, Raw as a show is god awful. So we get Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch in a contract signing for their match at Extreme Rules. Of course, Becky Lynch is the current SmackDown Women's Champion. And I'm going to be honest, SmackDown has all the stars. Raw absolutely doesn't have all the stars. I know, but like, USA, I heard, is angry with WWE because Fox has all the stars and not. And you got to also take that into consideration when it comes to the brand split, that, you know, Fox and USA, you know, do not like sharing their wrestlers and all that stuff. You know, I do not know why you're under contract with the same company. It really should be the company's decision. But hey, it is what it is. But we got the contract signing with Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. Of course, Bianca talks about what happened at SummerSlam. Of course, she lost to Becky Lynch in 2 seconds. Like, everybody wanted, like, look, if I wanted a match to end in like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, was the triple threat match at SummerSlam with Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Nikki ASH. That match I wanted to end in 2 seconds. You want to know why? Is because that match was so uninteresting. But somehow that match was much better than what we got with Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. Of course, the original match that was booked was Sasha Banks, but she pulled out of the match. I believe she pulled out of the match, but she wasn't there. She pulled it. I don't know if it was they took her out or she pulled it herself out of the match. But we got the replacement of Becky Lynch, which I went apeshit for. I legitimately went apeshit for, and I wanted to see a good match. The atmosphere in that show. Like, the atmosphere within the crowd in Las Vegas for SummerSlam for Becky Lynch going up against Bianca Belair was huge. Like, there was the atmosphere was amazing, and then in typical WWE fashion, they tend to squander it by really not giving you the true match that you want, which I don't know why they did that. It's a slap in the face to the fans, in my opinion, that paid their money to watch. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So Bianca talks about what happened at SummerSlam, says that she has respect for Becky Lynch, and says that she would never run from a fight, but things have changed. Says if they really ended toe-to-toe, the outcome would be completely different. Says she does not respect her as much as before. It says at Extreme Rules, she can win back her respect and take her title. And then after that, Becky Lynch comes out with a huge fur coat, fur coat. A lot of people do not like this new heel persona of Becky Lynch. A lot of people are saying it's kind of a ripoff, I should say, as people are saying, of Conor McGregor in the UFC, which I don't watch UFC, but I know Conor McGregor. Of course, he has that brash style, in-your-face personality, and I feel like that's what they're trying to go with Becky Lynch. But I'm not going to be one of those people that say, oh, this immediately sucks. Can it go over? Maybe. I do not know. I'm not really going to give my true opinion on it right now. I'm going to see it pan out, let it pan out to see if it's good or not. Maybe it happens at the match. In the match, if it looks much better, let's see for the next few weeks. Then give your true opinion on it. But, Becky Lynch as a heel is kind of weird to me because of the fact that, she is a huge babyface. She always was, in my opinion. And what was the point of turning her heel? Apparently, this was the idea of Becky Lynch, but honestly, I do not know why. I mean, she was better off as a babyface, and we could have had a really good match with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, but they made Bianca Belair, the babyface, look stupid. So that's that. So Becky Lynch comes out and says the original WrestleMania main event has arrived, which was really funny. And So you had Pat McAfee, and by the way, Pat McAfee has made his return on SmackDown, which is awesome. And when they did this contract signing segment, the funniest thing about this was Pat McAfee on commentary very quietly was like, contract signings are the best. That was the funniest shit I've ever heard, bro. But he continuing on with the Becky Lynch promo, he tells her why she knew that she had her number at SummerSlam. She saw her face and says she can be a fan or be the man. Damn. Says there ain't no shame in buying a ticket like regular people. Becky asks if she doesn't sign it. She asks both Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. Bianca tells Becky to sign it. Everybody's telling Becky to sign it. The crowd is telling her to sign it. Then Becky, in typical heel fashion, gets pissed off at the crowd. She says that she left a baby girl at home and the fans are favoring a flash in the pan like Bianca Belair. Damn. Then she signs the contract and throws it to Bianca. And what happens? Bianca stands up and Becky retreats. That's your contract signing. It didn't end in craziness like any WWE contract signing would. Now, granted, you had Becky Lynch throw the contract to Bianca, but yeah. What are my thoughts on this segment? It was not a bad segment. A lot of people are criticizing the new heel persona of Becky Lynch, coming out to... A lot of people are calling her a fake Conor McGregor, like a ripoff of Conor McGregor. Honestly, I'm going to let it pan out, see where it goes. If it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. Honestly, I'm going to be really excited for a match because finally we're most likely going to be getting a legitimate match between these two. We could have gotten that at SummerSlam, but instead we didn't get that. And I don't know why they did that. You know what I mean? I was happy because Becky Lynch did win the title and did, return. But I was pissed off of the way she won the title because, bruh, in 2 seconds, that was ridiculous. And you made Bianca Belair look absolutely stupid on the contrary. That's ridiculous. But we'll see where this goes. Honestly, who knows what can happen. We get Paul Heyman backstage. He sees Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox with their thing. Then Kayla Braxton scares the crap out of Paul Heyman like she did last week, which was the funniest thing ever. So apparently this is going to be a weekly thing on SmackDown. Kayla Braxton scares the hell out of Paul Heyman backstage. That was the funniest thing ever. And I will admit, like I laughed my ass off. And says the Tribal Chief is going to witness the Usos defend the SmackDown tag titles later tonight. And says tonight in MSG, Roman will answer the call. And then what happens? He gets jump scared by Big E, of course, teasing a potential cash-in when it comes to his Money in the Bank contract. Hopefully, once he makes his cash-in, most likely tomorrow night, finally the Money in the Bank is... But first off, the Money in the Bank shouldn't even be its own pay-per-view. The Money in the Bank should be at WrestleMania like it originally was back in 2005, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. From 2005 through 2010, the Money in the Bank match should be at WrestleMania. Why is it its own pay-per-view? I do not know why. WWE thinks more is good, but it is what it is. All right. We got Edge versus Seth Rollins in a SummerSlam rematch, and what will I say about this match? This match was amazing. The story that was told in this match, the match was balls to the wall. I loved every second of this match. You know, each of them, of course, we had Rollins last week, of course, they were showing it. Rollins last week was doing a lot of Edge's old moves, of course, the execution, the Edge-o-matic, all that type of stuff, but the crowd is on fire for this match, I will say. And when Edge made his entrance at the MSG show, and you heard it while you were watching it live on Fox, you heard the crowd sing Metalingus by Alter Bridge. And that was awesome. That was awesome to hear. And you heard it better if you looked at social media and a fan just took a video of it, of the fans all singing Edge's theme. I mean, bro, you have, I mean, this is a common thing with wrestling fans. You have the Sandman come out back in the ECW days with the fans singing Enter Sandman by Metallica. You have, when CM Punk comes back, you have the fans are singing Cult of Personality. And now you got fans singing Metalingus by Alter Bridge, Edge's theme song. That is awesome, man. Bro, continue on with the trend of singing wrestlers' theme songs in the crowd. Like, I want to be in the crowd, and I'm going to be at the Prudential Center this Wednesday for Dynamite. It's going to be freaking bonkers to sing CM Punk's theme, of course, Cult of Personality by Living Color. But the crowd is on fire for this match. The match starts. Both lock up. Rollins works on the left arm of Edge. We get a side headlock takedown by Edge. Then we get a drop kick on the knee of Edge by Seth Rollins. We get a roll up by Edge, and then we get a cover and a run count. Well, the roll up was the cover. We get a 1 count. Edge sends Rollins to the corner. Then Rollins tries to send Edge to the middle turnbuckle, but instead Edge hits the drop toe hold on Rollins onto the middle turnbuckle. Then Edge sends Rollins to the ring post into the corner. Both are on the outside. Then Rollins sends Edge to the barricade. Edge takes down Rollins on the top rope. Edge runs into a knee by Rollins. Then we get a jumping knee to the back of Edge and takes him to the outside. Then Rollins hits a suicide dive on Edge. Once we go to commercial break and we're back from break, Rollins works on Edge on the outside. Rollins then hits a springboard flying knee on Edge. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Rollins then continues to work on Rollins. Rollins then twists the knee of Edge. Rollins continues to target the knee of Edge at this point. Edge then proceeds to fight back. He misses an enziguri, so yeah, Rollins still gets the advantage. Then Rollins hits a gland slam. Yes, he hits a gland slam, Beth Phoenix's move. What a shocker. Rollins then hits the second glam slam. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Rollins then tries to go for the execution, but Edge reverses it. Rollins then tries to go for the pedigree, but Edge counters. Then he drops Rollins. Then Edge hits the pedigree. Yes, he hits the pedigree, so everybody's doing each other's moves at this point. Edge goes to the top, and then he drops Rollins onto the outside. Once we're back from break, Edge plants Rollins with a full Nelson slam at this point. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then Edge goes to the top. Rollins also goes to the top. Edge plants Rollins, but then Edge catches Rollins at this point. Then Edge applies a submission, but then Rollins drives Edge to the turnbuckle. Rollins tries to go for the crossface, but then Edge applies the crossface of his own. Then Edge drives the head of Rollins to the mat. Then Edge hits the execution after that. Rollins then counters a spear into a neck breaker. Then Edge catches Rollins trying to go for the stomp, but then hits a power bomb. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Edge takes Rollins to the top rope. Rollins escapes. Rollins then hits the buckle bomb, of course, Seth Rollins' signature buckle bomb. He injured a lot of people with that move on Edge. Then he hits a spear out of nowhere. We get a cover and an extremely close-ass near fall. Then Edge goes for a couple of right hands. We get a kick by Rollins. And then Rollins fights out Edge after that. Then the referee gets distracted. What happens while the referee gets distracted? In typical heel fashion, Rollins hits the low blow. Then we get a couple of kicks by Rollins. Then hits the super kick on Edge. And then we got a second super kick by Rollins. Of course, those are targeting the neck of Edge. Of course, something that Seth Rollins for the past few weeks on SmackDown has been basically teasing. Edge tries to get back up, but then Rollins goes for a third super kick to the neck. And then Edge tries to get up, but Rollins hits the curve stomp on the neck. I believe it was on the neck. It was the curve stomp or the kicks on the neck. I got to rewatch that match. But then he hits the curve stomp. We get a cover. Rollins wins the match. In my opinion, this was the logical choice to make. I don't think Edge was going to win 2 times in a row. A lot of people can say 50-50 booking, but in my opinion, it makes the perfect sense. But overall thoughts on this match, this was a really, really good match. By far the best match of the night on SmackDown, and a really good match inside Madison Square Garden. Really good match. Edge absolutely killed it. You know, the crowd was on fire. Of course, Seth Rollins is being Seth Rollins, and he's being a typical heel. I've always stated this, and I will continue to state it. You can dislike Seth Rollins on social media and stuff, but you cannot deny Seth Rollins is one of the best in-ring performers in the world today. And, you know, he really showed that in that match against Edge. And I thought the match was really good and really well executed. So that was the Seth Rollins versus Edge match. Amazing match to basically, I don't want to say end the show because we had another match after this, but it was a really, really good match. I really enjoyed it, and I had a blast watching it. We get a backstage interview after that with Seth Rollins, of course. Edge gets carried out by medical personnel, and he really does not know how he feels and says maybe he doesn't feel anything at all. So basically, Rollins feels absolutely no remorse because he's a heel, and that's what he's supposed to do. But that's great. Then Roman Reigns is backstage with the Usos. Reigns says the, NY and the WWE, they run New York, the WWE, and MSG. And then he proceeds to speak to Paul Heyman. And then Reigns says, I saved you. Yeah, I saved you. And then he asks Paul Heyman, why didn't you tell me Brock was going to be at SummerSlam? And Paul Heyman has that terrified look in his eyes. Like, his facial expression is like this. Like, that is Paul Heyman's basically reaction. That is his reaction. And I love that reaction from Paul Heyman because we've seen it many times throughout the years. Classic Paul Heyman right there. But we got our main event of the evening. We got the Usos defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles going up against the Street Profits. Really good match. Now, this match ended in a DQ. Yes, this match ended in a DQ, which, sucks because this is WWE. Matches always end in DQs. But I will say the ending of the show really made it, was really good. I will say that. But what are my thoughts on the match? I'm going to go through the match first, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. We get a drop kick by Montez Ford. We get a cover and a near fall. Ford with a right hand. Then Jimmy Uso with a suicide dive, a.k.a. Tumpe Suicida, as Excalibur would state, on Montez Ford. We get a commercial break, and once we're back from break, we get a shoulder tackle by Dawkins on Jimmy. Then we get a cover and a near fall, and then we get a right hand by Jimmy. We get a double team attempt by the Usos on Angelo Dawkins. We get a cover and a near fall. At this point, Jey Uso is the legal man. We get a drop kick by Dawkins. He works on Jey Uso, and then we get an elbow by Jey. Jimmy tags in. We get a double team attempt by the Usos on Dawkins. We get a cover and a near fall. Jey tags in. Both Usos continue to work on Angelo Dawkins at this point, so they are at the advantage at this point. Then Jey misses a leg drop. Then Dawkins takes Jay to the outside and then takes Jimmy to the outside as well. Montez Ford tags in, and then Montez Ford, in typical Montez Ford fashion, hits a beautiful somersault over the top rope. Bro, I've stated this many times on my SmackDown reviews. Montez Ford, the way he wrestles is amazing. This guy is athletic as hell. And the movement and the way his footwork and everything. Now, I'm not a wrestler, so I shouldn't even talk about this stuff. But, I mean, the way he wrestles is amazing. I mean, he really sets himself apart from everybody else, and that's what I really enjoy about Montez Ford. He sets himself apart, and really the way he wrestles is just awesome to watch. But he hits a really awesome somersault. Roman Reigns comes out to look at the match, and then we go to commercial break. Once we're back from break, Dawkins hits a neck breaker on Jey Uso. Jimmy tags in. Ford then hits a crossbody. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Ford hits a clothesline. We get a couple of kicks by Ford. Jimmy then sends Ford to the corner, but Ford does some crazy shit with a drop kick. Yes, I wrote that in my notes, guys. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a forearm by Jay, and then Jimmy misses an enziguri. Then, I forgot to mention this, but at one point, well, actually, no, at this point during the match, Montez Ford was actually wrestling with only one shoe on, which is insane. Like, it goes to show you, like, the athletic ability of Montez Ford. Like, he was wrestling with one shoe on. That is insane. But we got a double team attempt by both Dawkins and Ford. Then we get a cover and near fall. Jimmy then hits a headbutt, and then after that, we get a super kick by Jay on Dawkins. Then we get a cover and near fall. Jimmy tags in. Then Ford takes out Jay, but gets sent to the barricade. Then we get a super kick by both Usos. He proceeds to tag Jay. Hits the Uso splash. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Jay takes Dawkins. Dawkins goes for a right. And then what happens after that? Ford tags in, Jimmy tags in, and then we get an enziguri by Jay on Dawkins. Then Jimmy gets hit with the frog splash by Ford. We got a cover, and it looked like they were actually going to take the titles off of the Usos, but Roman Reigns, with the interference, causes the DQ and applies the guillotine on Montez Ford, and of course the DQ happens and the match ends. So the Usos retain the SmackDown tag titles by the DQ. Then Roman Reigns, after this, grabs the mic. And by the way, my thoughts on the match, I thought the match was really good. Both the Usos and the Street Profits. We've seen this match before a couple of months ago on SmackDown. It was a really awesome match, in my opinion. But I think this was a really good match. I just didn't like the DQ finish. But what happened after, I really loved. So Roman Reigns grabs the mic and says that he's going to smash Brock Lesnar when he's done with Finn Balor. So basically, it confirms that he accepts the challenge of Brock Lesnar. The lights turn out in MSG, and what happens? The Demon King comes out after how many years now? Like since 2019? Yes, the Demon King comes out. Demon Finn Balor comes out, and to a huge pop in Madison Square Garden. He got a really huge pop in MSG. I really enjoyed that. That was awesome. Again, it would have been much better if this was a scenario that this match was going to be happening at WrestleMania. Again, I still stand by that. I do not care, bro. I do not care what anybody says. I still stand by the fact that this match should happen at next year's WrestleMania, but of course we have the plans with The Rock in motion, so yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But I mean, if this match happened at WrestleMania, and if you built up Finn Balor for a long period of time, if you built him up for the rest of the year, just make him into a super mega babyface that the fans can actually get behind, and you book him right, and he eventually wins the Rumble, and basically during the Rumble you have The Rock face Roman Reigns, and you can basically tell the story that I beat everybody. I beat Brock Lesnar, Kevin Owens. I sent Daniel Bryan down to Jacksonville. I beat everybody. I beat John Cena, and I beat The Rock. What else is there? And then you got Finn Balor, of all people, coming out, and then you can just literally dethrone him. Like, he can literally be your Sting to your Hollywood Hogan. And I've stated this multiple times, and the way I've stated it, it sounds the same, but I'm going to be honest. He's your Sting to your Hollywood Hogan, and the only difference is that the WWE most likely wouldn't fuck it up the way WCW would do. But, I mean, we're going to be getting this match in a September pay-per-view instead of WrestleMania, so that's not going to be the case. I always had that belief, and I still do, that Finn Balor is the guy to beat him because they've wrestled many times. And I mean, it makes for me at least, it makes the perfect sense. I would love to see Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania, because like if you have seen their first encounter at the Raw after the 2016 draft, or the match that they had last week on SmackDown, bro, these guys can work a really good match and really tell a story. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, a lot of people do not think Finn Balor is the guy, but I personally do think Finn Balor is the guy, but that is just me. But overall thoughts on this segment, I thought this was really good. Of course, he faces off against Roman Reigns, and then what happens? The show ends. Overall thoughts on this whole SmackDown show, I really enjoyed the show. By far, one of the best WWE shows this year, if not the best. Hopefully, SmackDown's going to be like this next week. Again, I stated early on in this review and in my Rampage review that this was much better than Rampage. I still enjoyed Rampage. Of course, we had Andrade versus Pac, who they absolutely killed. I just did not like the finish. But I mean, I'm be honest, I really enjoyed this show. A really awesome show. I really enjoyed it. By far one of the best shows of the year. And yeah, that was SmackDown from September 10th, 2021, coming to us from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Be on the lookout for my future reviews right here on the channel. Of course, I'm going to be attending Dynamite this Wednesday at the Prudential Center, so most likely going to be rewatching the show and taking notes on the show as well, because I'm going to be having a good time at the Prudential Center enjoying the show. I'm probably going to come out with a vlog. Hopefully I get that done, but I'll see later this week. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for more notifications on this channel for future videos, and also follow me on social media on both Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast, signing out.